They are. The majority of design rules are dumb. And the reason they're dumb is because no one who you're designing for knows or gives a shit about design rules. The only thing they care about truly is what appeals to the human eye or what appeals to the human psyche. In other words, what looks cool and what evokes an emotion or an idea. So, I mean, any design rule that revolves around those two aspects, perfectly fine. But there are infinite amounts of design rules and design principles that are very subjective and I feel like just hinders a lot of people's creativity. So I've come up with the 4 C's of graphic design, which are the only things I believe you should worry about when approaching design, in my opinion. And they are communicate, capture, contrast, compose. So first one, communicate. When you're making a design, you need to be communicating something unless it turns into a void of nothing. So I had to learn this the hard way because the first about 6 months of me making digital art or graphic design, my philosophy was no one really cares about meaning or concepts. They just make stuff that looks cool, which I still stand by in the short term. But what I've learned is those designs that had no concepts or weren't communicating anything don't hold any longevity. So the only 2 questions you should be asking yourself in regards to communication is what are you communicating and how are you communicating it? So what are you communicating most of the time is some sort of concept. Now, this doesn't have to be a revolutionary, life-altering, amazing concept. It can just be as simple as I'm making a design to commemorate my love for surfing. It doesn't have to be a full-on amazing concept. I feel like when you put pressure on yourself to come up with an amazing concept, it sort of just delays you actually creating a design in the first place. So as long as you have just some sort of concept or some sort of meaning behind the design, that's all that really matters. And then when it comes to how to communicate it, I believe this is sort of a subjective thing. If you're making designs for yourself, if you're making it for someone else, then this is a question you should be asking them or asking the audience who you're designing for. So the next C is capture. Once again, this is a very broad topic. There are so many different ways to capture audiences' attention. So I would recommend, if you are a beginner, the best way to learn how to capture someone's attention through design would be to model the greats. And what I mean by that is search up the greatest graphic designers in history. So David Carson, Milton Glaser, Paul Rand are just 3 examples. So what I'd recommend you do is just look through some of the greatest designers in history's works and take note on what captures your attention personally. What is it about those designs that has captured your attention personally? And take note of that and implement that into your design. So I'm not saying to copy or steal what people's designs do. I'm telling you to steal how they do it. So it could be just small little aspects like the color they used or the way they manipulated a photo. But once again, you should do your own research and look into how you want to personally capture someone's attention through your designs. So the next C is contrast. Now, I believe this is the most important aspect of graphic design because it applies to so many elements. So when I'm talking about contrast, I don't just mean color contrast or lighting contrast. I mean how typefaces contrast, how shapes contrast, how emotions contrast in the design. Like with capturing people's attention, contrast is a very broad topic and there's many different ways and techniques to contrast. So I'd recommend doing your own personal research, but some things I'd recommend you study is color theory. Once again, study it with critical thinking because colors can mean different things to different people, but I'd still recommend studying color theory and just in general practicing through your own design what certain elements contrast and look good to you personally. And the last C is compose, or the composition of your design. So you've got your concept, you figured out how you're going to communicate it, you figured out how to capture people's attention, and you've contrasted the elements nicely. Now you just got to compose everything in a nice way, or a way that you think looks nice personally. And once again, for the third time, there's so many different ways of doing this, but I'm not personally going to be telling you how to do it, because some things look good to me subjectively and other things look good to other people or look good to other audiences. But a few principles of composition are things like symmetry, asymmetry, the rule of thirds, and there's plenty more, so just do your own research with that. But basically, to summarize, they are the 4 things that I personally think you should be worrying about when approaching a design. And once again, this is just my personal opinion, but I believe these 4 things sort of encapsulate what a great design is. So once again, communicate, capture, contrast, compose. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you have any suggestions on what you'd like to make next, or if you have any questions in regards to graphic design or software questions about Photoshop or Illustrator, just let me know in the comments and I'd be more than happy to answer your questions. Thank you very much again, and I'll see you in the next video.